Democracy is messy sometimes, but it is our system. This conference that you see, this House Republican majority, is united.
Mr. Johnson, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Will you
Next question.
You support additional aid to You've asked your question.
You asked your question. Go away.
Oh, my God.
What is she By the way, who is that?
Okay, I found
Virginia Fox for North Carolina.
North Carolina?
She's a nasty little woman.
She's the meanest Republican.
I looked up there and I saw her say, shut up. And I said, away, the words of this are like another example of what people, we can't say shut up in my house.
No.
Like, my tongue, by the way, shut up.
It's a lack of decorum, and it's beneath the dignity of that
Sonny, she gets richer. She voted against aid for Hurricane Katrina, opposes abortion. That one I'll forgive her. But has been against every LGBTQ advancement, opposed the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd, voted against Don't Ask, Don't Tell. This woman sounds perfect
wait a
for
second. The best part about her is that she serves as a chair of the Education Committee.
Oh, God.
And by the way,
all right, guys, so we got to talk about the GOP Speaker of the House situation, the soap opera that seemed like it would never end, okay? I mean, like the actual soap operas that never end, okay, that are seemingly going to be on TV forever. That's kind of what it seemed like the GOP Speaker of the House situation was going to be like, okay? Never-ending soap opera. However, we have come to an end of the soap opera for now, okay, as Republicans have elected Representative Mike Johnson from Louisiana to be Speaker of the House. And what was basically a unanimous House floor vote showing that the Republican Party is finally united on who's going to lead the party. Now, with that being said, we got to get into the left-wing liberal reaction because you guys already know they're melting down, boohoo, whining, and crying about Mike Johnson, who is a family man, right? He's a family man, a traditional social conservative, and you know that scares the left more than anything. I mean, you already have people calling him a Christo-fascist simply for referencing the Bible during his speaker speech, right? He's, you know, reading scripture, referencing scripture. Apparently that makes him a bad person. And you have AOC, who is calling him an extremist, right? He has a history of pissing Democrats off, including calling for Nancy Pelosi to be arrested.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request.
Gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Seek unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter dated January 12, 2021 by Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry, where he decries all political violence and calls for an end to that and asks for respect for all political viewpoints.
Without objection.
Another thing we can examine because he's not here. Very good.
No, you can examine it. It's a document. He's going to
examine him for what he wrote and the intent behind what he said.
Well, I would just point out that that's unanimous consents are for documents, and we got the document right here that he handed to you.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent.
The chair now recognizes Ms. Wasserman Schultz for her 5 minutes.
I have a unanimous consent request, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon?
I have a unanimous.
Oh, okay. Gentlelady is recognized for unanimous consent request.
So you were obviously watching there at the State of the Union. When you saw the speaker rip the president's speech into pieces, did you take that as a sign of politeness, as an expression of kindness and friendship?
No, of course not. I mean, it was a shameful display. It was stunning, really, to many members sitting in the House. It was totally unprecedented. It was shameless, and it was also unlawful, Tucker. You know, a lot of people have been talking about this the last 48 hours, and I did a little legal memo to point out to my colleagues that she actually committed a felony when she tore that paper up. It wasn't just any copy of the State of the Union address. It was the copy, the original. And we have over 2 centuries of custom and tradition, and of course the Constitution that calls for the State of the Union address, that when the president delivers the copies to those top legal officers, the 2 top legislative officers in that co-equal branch of government, those are the official documents of the House. And if you tear those up, you violated a specific statute in the criminal code.
So again, naturally, liberals are panicking over what you would think will be their worst nightmare, just paying attention to their reaction. Take a look.
Well, they did it. There's a new Speaker of the House. This is Mike Johnson. He represents Louisiana. He's a Republican and a part of the Christian right faction of the party. He has extremely close ties to Christian fundamentalist groups like Focus on the Family and the Alliance Defending Freedom. In fact, he used to be an attorney and the media spokesperson for the Alliance Defending Freedom. Johnson does not believe in climate change. He does believe in conversion therapy. He supported Donald Trump's ban on Muslim immigrants. And in 2019 and 2020, he served on Trump's legal counsel for the Senate impeachment trials. He has actively campaigned against the day of anti-bullying and campaigned for students to have the ability to pray out loud in class as part of their First Amendment rights.
Welcome to the car rant. I'm too angry to speak, so I figured it's a good time to do it publicly, right? I'm talking about the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, a guy who's only been in politics since 2016, a guy who helped engineer and sort of, grease the wheels of Trump's attempted coup to overthrow a free and fair election on behalf of Donald Trump, right? A guy who's paid for many, many abortions in his lifetime of philandering and worse, right? A sexual predator, drug-addicted scumbag who's sitting in a New York City courtroom right now, mad mugging his lawyer because his lawyer's telling the truth about, Trump's bullshit business operation that everybody just turned a blind eye to in New York City for decades, including NBC, who gave him a freaking TV show pretending he was a billionaire when we all knew that was anything but the truth. I worked on it. I saw it firsthand, okay? Trump is a joke and a clown. The GOP knows that, but these are extreme angry men. This little Oliver Peoples wearing punk ass congressman now turned speaker is one of the most extreme anti-abortion people in this country, okay? He wants to arrest doctors who perform abortions to save a woman's life.
Guys, nothing makes me laugh more than liberal tears, right? I love the liberal tears, okay? They're making me like the guy, right? They're making me like the guy, okay? The liberal tears, the melting down. And apparently Trump also likes the guy, which probably is the primary reason why he didn't get nuked like Tom Emmer did before he could even get a vote to be speaker.
I just want to congratulate Mike Johnson. He will be a great Speaker of the House, and we were very happy to help. I've known him for a long time. He's a tremendous leader, a tremendous man, comes from a wonderful place, Louisiana. He's going to make us all proud. So at this time yesterday, nobody was thinking of Mike, and then we put out the word, and now he's the Speaker of the House. So I want to just thank all of the supporters that I have, and I want to thank all of the supporters that Mike has. And again, he'll be a great speaker. I think you're going to be very proud of him. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so again, yesterday when I did my video about this, when Mike Johnson was originally nominated as the Republican candidate for Speaker of the House, I went over some things with you guys, just general information about him in regards to who he is, okay? 74% Liberty score, which means he's more conservative than Kevin McCarthy, but he's not as conservative as, let's just say, probably the average Freedom Caucus Congress member. He's kind of right there in the middle, right, in regards to being a conservative, okay? He has an F rating on Republicans for Ukraine, which is good. He has an F rating on the far-left democracy score, which is also good. He voted against every Ukraine bill except the first one, and he has been an integral part of the Republicans investigating Biden, Mariakis, and some of the corruption going on in the Biden administration. Again, this guy, his resume is pretty good, okay? In my opinion, what he's not is a good fundraiser. And he's also not rich, right? He's not one of these guys that have gotten super rich from being in Congress, right? Which, again, is another plus, okay? That's another plus. That means that he's actually going to be focused on the work, which I like more so than raising money and playing go along and get along with the Democrats when you're negotiating from a position of leverage, which the Republicans have. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and some of the main changes that I think will happen under Mike Johnson. But first, I actually want to play a clip of Mike Johnson in the speech that he gave during his Speaker of the House nomination, so you guys can get a better feel for who this guy is. Take a look.
And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now. And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our admonition. Turmoil and violence have rocked the Middle East and Eastern Europe. We all know it. And tensions continue to build in the Indo-Pacific. The country demands strong leadership of this body. and we must not waver. Our nation's greatest ally in the Middle East is under attack. The first bill that I'm going to bring to this floor in just a little while will be in support of our dear friend Israel, and we're overdue in getting that done. We're going to show not only Israel, but the entire world that the barbarism of Hamas that we have all seen play out on our television screens is wretched and wrong, and we are going to stand for the good in that conflict. We have a catastrophe at our southern border. The Senate and the White House can no longer ignore the problem. From Texas to New York, wave after wave of illegal migrants are stressing our communities to their breaking points. We know that our streets are being flooded with fentanyl, and all of our communities, children, and even adults are dying from it. The status quo is unacceptable. Inaction is unacceptable, and we must come together and address the broken border. We have to do it. Skyrocketing cost of living is unsustainable, and Americans should not have to worry about how they're going to feed their family every week because they can't afford their groceries anymore. Everybody in this room should think about this. Here's the stats. Prices have increased over 17% in the last 2 years. Credit card interest rates are at the highest level in nearly 3 decades, and mortgage rates are now at a peak we haven't seen since 2001. We have to bring relief to the American people by reining in federal spending and bringing down inflation. The greatest threat to our national security is our nation's debt. And while we've been sitting in this room, that's right, the debt has crossed almost $33.6 trillion. In the time that it's going to take me to deliver this speech, we'll go up another $20 million in debt. It's unsustainable. We have to get the country back on track. Now, we know this is not going to be an easy task, and tough decisions will have to be made. But the consequences, if we don't act now, are unbearable. We have a duty to the American people to explain this to them so they understand it well, and we are going to establish a bipartisan debt commission to begin working on this crisis immediately.
Yeah, so with that being said, what do I like and what I don't like? At least from what I'm currently saying, I like the fact that he's a strong Christian man, right? I like the fact that he has family values, that he's not afraid to talk about his faith and to express his faith. I love the fact that him expressing his faith triggers the liberals, but it does show you where his morals are at, okay? I like the fact that he's not bought and sold, okay? That, you know, he lives modestly, right? And I think he is a representation of what, you know, we should have, you know, our young people aspire to be. And I think that that's important when you're talking about a speaker, right? So from a morals and just from a kind of intangible standpoint, I like the guy, right? Just as a man, okay? Now, when it comes to actual policy issues, I think one thing that I expect there to be some difference on. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to save the world because people got to understand Republicans do have a slim majority, but I do think that he's going to be a lot more stringent when it comes to trying to change the way that spending is done in Washington, okay? He was one of the guys that voted against the continuing resolution to keep the government open because he wanted to have a vote on all 12 appropriations bills individually, right? Instead of trying to pass them all at one time, right? And to basically force people to vote on something or shut down the government without actually going through each one of them and saying yay or nay, right? He's like, no. We actually need to vote on each separate appropriations bill to make sure that this is something we all agree on while trying to rein in wasteful spending instead of these continuing resolutions, right? Now, again, how is that going to look under his administration as Speaker of the House? I'm not entirely sure, but given his voting history, I think that we may see some changes, right? I'm more confident that we'll probably see some changes there that are desperately needed. I have more confidence in that than I would under McCarthy. Now, something I don't necessarily like. What I don't like, which is something that we see from all the Republicans, really, even people like Jim Jordan, it seems like the whole Israel thing is more of a priority than American issues, right? And I'm not saying that Israel shouldn't be a priority at all, but what I don't like is when you come to the floor as a new leader of the House and the first thing you talk about is another country, right? It just rubs me the wrong way. I understand that, you know, we need to figure out the Israel situation to avoid World War III, to avoid Israel getting bombarded by all of the Arab nations around them and, you know, some of the Islamic extremists and, you know, potentially having nukes end up in the wrong hands. Now, again, that's an extreme situation, right? I mean, realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm just saying, like, I understand why Israel would be a priority. However, that's not more of a priority than spending here in the United States and the border, right? The issues here at home. So, again, somebody needs to tell Republicans that they need to, in my opinion, talk more about American priorities here at home than international priorities, right? I want to hear about American priorities first before I hear about international priorities. Again, I'm not saying that the international stuff can't be on the agenda. I'm just saying that I want to hear about America first, right? That's what I want to hear about, okay? So that being said, I do think that ultimately Israel will probably get funding. I think when it comes to Ukraine, though, there's going to be a battle, right? I think that with Ukraine, I think that Johnson is probably going to be much more likely than McCarthy to hold the line, right? To limit the amount of money we continue to send to Ukraine. And I think that that's probably going to be the biggest difference, at least immediately, okay? So in my opinion, what do I think? I think that this is a W, right? Overall, I think it's a W. It might be a small W, but at the very least, this whole situation shows us how fake some of these Republicans are, that your politicians do not vote the way that their constituents want them to vote, especially behind closed doors, right? So now people kind of understand how Congress works, how kind of fake a lot of these politicians are. That is a good thing that is being exposed. And also, again, we have a better guy than Kevin McCarthy. Again, he may be a marginal upgrade in regards to what he can actually do, considering that the Republicans have a slim majority. But I am not one of these people that believe that Republicans can't do anything because they have a slim majority. I believe that because the polls are in favor of conservative solutions, that is what the American people want. Conservatives need to be trying their best to push the conservative solutions and putting pressure on Democrats to get on board with conservative solutions, which is something that Mike Johnson have talked about in regards to having a relationship with Nancy Pelosi, in which he says, look, I want to convince the Democrats to get on board with conservative solutions, right? And that's, you know, that's kind of how you have to govern, right? But again, you have to govern from a position of strength, and the Republicans right now are in a position of strength because the American people want conservative solutions. They want conservative solutions on spending, reining in inflation, fixing the border, crime, and Republicans need to be pushing these things, and they need to be screaming at the top of their lungs and marketing their solutions, okay? Give people something to vote for, right? That's the biggest issue with the Republican Party right now. Their lack of marketing for Republican legislation. It's almost as if they're not proud of it. They need to be proud on it. Stand on the fact that you want to cut spending. Democrats can scream and yell all they want, but stand on the fact that we need to fix the debt issue that we have in this country, right? So again, with that being said, for all these people that was mad at me and people like Matt Gaetz for saying that, hey, I'm not mad that Kevin McCarthy got ousted, well, it looks like we won, right? Because ultimately, we got somebody better than McCarthy. He may be only a marginal upgrade over McCarthy, but if this guy is who I think he is, then if we can expand our majority after 2024, we're going to have much more leverage to actually fix this country and to get this country moving in the right direction, because it won't be Kevin McCarthy. It will be this guy that will be the front runner to lead this country. Okay, and I would much rather have a guy like this, who I don't think is a snake, right, than somebody like Kevin McCarthy, who is not as conservative and who I do think is a snake, leading the party, right, if we expand our majority in 2024. So, again, this is a W, right, and what did you really lose? It's not like people are going to go to the polls and say, oh, well, I'm not going to vote Republican because the Republicans had an issue with the Speaker of the House last year, right? This doesn't affect the outcome of the elections at all, right? All the people say, this is proof that Republicans can't govern. They don't know what they're talking about. Nobody's going to go to the poll and vote based off what happened with the Speaker of the House situation. It's not happening. People are going to forget about it in a few weeks. It'll be like it never happened, and we're going to have a better speaker in place. Now, again, it remains to be seen how much of a upgrade he will be over Kevin McCarthy. My hopes are not high. I'm not, saying this guy's going to save the world. Quite honestly, again, it'll probably be business as usual for the most part. My expectations are super low, but all I'm asking for is for honest effort, right? Put in an honest effort to put the Democrats back up against the wall, to push conservative solutions, and to expand the majority, and to act like you want to be in the majority, right? Act like you want to fix the problems in this country. That's all I ask. And I don't think that Kevin McCarthy was doing that. And I hope that Mike Johnson will do that. That's my hope. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.